Hello, my name is Todd Prusha, and I am a Cedar Valley Maker, and this is my entry into the 2021 Cedar Valley Makers MakerFest. Every innovation must begin with a problem to be solved, and the problem that I was addressing was, or is, that my wife and I are unable to grow flowers or really any type of vegetation in our yard in Cedar Falls because we live in a wooded area. So that's the problem I'm trying to solve. What I decided to do was build some or fabricate some metal flowers or steel flowers. I really like the idea of reused, recycled materials. So I used railroad spikes, scrap metal from the Cedar Valley Makers welding scrap bin, as well as I have a brother-in-law who's a welder, some scrap metal from him. An old folding chair that was already painted green, which made for great leaves, and some rebar. So full disclosure, I really like rusted yard art. Deer do not like rusty steel things to eat. So that's where I went down that path. My inspiration as far as the design of the flowers came a little bit from looking at what other people had created with metal flowers or steel flowers, steel rusting flowers for yard art on Pinterest, although there wasn't a lot out there with railroad spikes. And I think I mentioned that I live near railroad tracks, so I wanted to use the railroad spikes. We have plenty of those to be used. But a lot of it was just doing Google image searches and looking at different flowers and seeing what those flowers looked like and compared to the parts that I could fabricate or cut from the railroad spikes. A list of tools that were used. So the tools that I used were all from Cedar Valley Makers. So I used the metal chop saw, the power saw, the power band hacksaw, the MIG welder, handheld grinder for two different purposes. Handheld grinder with the steel brush attachment on it to remove the rust before welding and especially before painting. I don't mind, I liked rusted art, so I didn't do a real careful job to do the rust prevention, but enough to get the paint would stick to it. I also used the handheld grinder with the cutting wheel on it, or the cutting blade. The plasma cutter in the welding shop as well. Cans of spray paint when it was all assembled and ready to be prettied up a little bit. And then for recording this presentation, I used my MacBook Pro in front of a green screen, and I used the Cedar Valley Makers new Media Lab and their Adobe Premiere software. So here you can see some of my final project, final product. I think they turned out well. My wife was happy with the design and the look of them. And they're deer resistant. After I placed some of the flowers in the yard, it then snowed. And so now I understand that they're also weather resistant. So I think we have a solution to our problem.